Alright, welcome to the lunchtime video. I've got things going with customer support to get myself registered for the exam. So I hope things will work out there. It's kind of, well, not kind of, it's like really demoralizing to really not know 100% one way or the other if I can even take the exam anymore. I'm guessing I will be able to, but it's not clear. So let's just keep going with studying. Make sure I'm ready. So last video I needed to just move on from that topic. I've been spending too many videos on it and not getting far enough. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a eBGP connection working across multiple autonomous systems. They did give me configuration to follow where I guess they were expecting it to work, but it was stuck in active. So obviously something was not correct in the configuration they give. I tried to just kind of freeform it myself and figure out how to get it to work, but I ended up not being able to do that. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic, which is CE/VE routing variations as it pertains to L3 VPNs. Okay, so let's see if there's a good... I'm tempted to just start it the same way I start everything else. Let's try that, actually. Because then I get to use it during the exam day. It's just, I think, the best way to find help information. Okay, so this is all I got for L3 VPN, this composite next hop. So it doesn't look like it's related. Let's see if there's anything for CEPE. We'll try PEC and then CEPE. Okay, so here we've got a lot of results. What about for CEPE? Okay, we got some results here as well, but it looks like the main results. So it looks like we got some interesting results here that I'll save. Okay, and then here's where all the really interesting results are, so I'll go back and look at that. Okay, so yeah, this one looks good, configuring routing between those two. So this is, I think, a lot of the source of variation is going to be the different kind of routing protocol that's used. So this I can save in here. Okay, so configuring routing between PE and CE routers in layer 3 VPNs. For the PE router to distribute VPN-related routes to and from connected CE routers, you must configure routing within the VPN routing instance. You can configure a routing protocol, BGP, ospf, or RIP, or you can configure static routing. For the connection to each CE router, you can configure only one type of routing. So, and then it goes on to explain how to configure those different variations. So, nothing too complicated, I think. Yeah, let's look this up. So BGP, ospf, RIP, and static. So here's RIP and static. Okay, now let's see. Here's BGP and ospf. Perfect. I'm also interested in the multi-hop one because there might be like a multi-homed solution. Alright, so let's look at that. Configuring eBGP multi-hop sessions between PE and CE routers in layer 3 VPNs. You can configure an eBGP or iBGP multi-hop session between the PE and CE routers of a layer 3 VPN. This allows you to have one or more routers between the CE and PE routers. Using iBGP between PE and CE routers does not require the configuration of any additional statements. However, using eBGP between the PE and CE routers requires the configuration of the multi-hop statement. To configure an external BGP multi-hop session for the connection between the PE and CE routers, include the multi-hop statement on the PE router. To help prevent routing loops, you have to configure a time to live value for the multi-hop session. Okay. Well, that's interesting that it was required to configure the time to live value. But yeah, that looks good. So I read that one already. So let's just go through, read them, and mark them off. Maybe do some configuration. But I think I'm just going to give this one video because it looks pretty simple to me. Yep, especially since we get good configuration examples. So this is configuring a routing instance on router PE3. So yep, all the classic good stuff. Route distinguisher. Now we don't have a route target, but that's just because they didn't include the configuration to the VRF import statements. That would have the route target in it, I believe. Community. And here you can see they have RIP to the CE. Okay, so I think I'm good with that. Alright, time for the next one. Configure a routing instance on router PE1. So similar, we've got, but now we've got a BGP configuration to the CE, and it looks like we've got a static route here as well. Unclear what the static route is for. but you can see the BGP configuration is going to be an eBGP configuration to the CE. Really nice and easy there. So not too worried about this topic if it's just the difference between configuring BGP, ospf, RIP, or static to the between the CEs and PEs. I guess static is the one I would be least familiar with. Yeah, so I already read this, so I'll just move right on to the next one. Okay, so configuring RIP between the PE and CE routers. For a layer 3 VPN, you can configure RIP on the PE router to learn the routes of the CE router, or to propagate the routes of the PE router to the CE router. RIP routes learned from neighbors configured at any edit routing instances hierarchy level are added to the routing instances INET table. To configure RIP as the routing protocol between the PE and CE router, include the RIP statement. You can include this statement at the following hierarchy levels. By default, RIP does not advertise the routes it receives. To advertise routes from a PE router to a CE router, you need to configure an export policy on the PE router for RIP. For information on how to define an export policy, see the Junos Policy Framework Configuration Guide. To configure an export policy for RIP, include the export statement. You can include this statement for RIP at the following hierarchy levels. To install routes learned from a RIP routing instance into multiple routing tables, include the RIB group and group statements. You can include these statements at the following hierarchy levels. To configure a routing table group, include the RIB groups statement. RIB group's group name, you can include this statement at the following hierarchy levels. To add a routing table to a routing table group, include the import RIB statement. The first routing table name specified under the import RIB statement must be the name of the routing table you are configuring. For more information about how to configure routing tables and routing table groups, see the Junos Routing Protocols Configuration Guide. Import RIB group names. You can include this statement at the following hierarchy levels. Okay. Alright, so I read that. Let's go to the next one. Oops, and it looks like I closed the terminal. There we go. Configuring static routes between the PE and CE routers. You can configure static, non-changing routes between the PE and CE routers of a VPN routing instance. To configure a static route for a VPN, you need to configure it within the VPN routing instance configuration at the Edit Routing Instances, Routing Instance Name, Routing Options hierarchy level. To configure a static route between the PE and CE routers, include the static statement. So static, route, destination, prefix, next hop, include your next hops, and then static options. You can include this statement at the following hierarchy levels: edit routing instances, routing instance name, routing options. For more information about configuring routing protocols and static routes, see the Junos Routing Protocols Configuration Guide. Okay, so yeah, these are all going to be easy. I'm just going to give this one video. Yeah, I'm almost done reading all this anyways, so I'm going to have a lot of extra time in this video, so I think I might just get a L3 VPN up and working, and then experiment with the different kinds of connections I can make. But before I do that, I'll just read the rest of these documents that I think are interesting. Okay, so configuring BGP between PE and CE routers. To configure BGP as the routing protocol between the CE and PE routers, include the BGP statements: BGP group, group name, AS number, neighbor, IP address. You can include this statement at the following hierarchy levels: edit routing instances, routing instance name, protocols. Please be aware of the following limitations regarding configuring BGP for routing instances. In a VRF routing instance, do not configure the local autonomous system AS number using an AS number that is already in use by a remote BGP peer in a separate VRF routing instance. Doing so creates an autonomous system loop where all the routes received from this remote BGP peer are hidden. You can configure the local AS number using either the autonomous system statement at the edit routing instances, routing instance name, routing options hierarchy level, or the local AS statement at any of the following hierarchy levels: edit routing instances, routing instance name, protocols, BGP. You configure the AS number for a BGP peer using the peer AS statement at the edit routing instances, routing instance name, protocols, BGP, group name, hierarchy level. Route reflectors and cluster IDs are not supported on a routing instance. Do not configure the cluster ID statement at the edit routing instances, routing instance name, protocols, BGP, group name, hierarchy level. Doing so causes the configuration to fail. Configuring ospf version 2 between the CE and PE routers. To configure ospf version 2 as the routing protocol between a PE and CE router, include the ospf statements. ospf area interface name. You can include the statement following hierarchy levels: edit routing instances, routing instance name, protocols. Okay, so now that I've got all of these read, I think I'm just going to fix this topology here just so that it is a real simple L3 VPN connecting these two sites, and then I'll play around with the protocol used to between the PE and CE. Okay, so yep, I'm just going to wipe this clean. and then I'll re-add statements. So, and we'll just go with, so we're definitely going to want a label switch path and an L3 VPN. So, and of course I've got to add the base configuration back on. So I'll start there. And then let's configure the interface, the core interface, which is going to be this one here. So we're definitely going to need family MPLS. We're definitely going to need an address. Yeah, let's just go with the same address. Perfect. Yep. And then we are going to need a loopback as well. Let's use a simpler loopback scheme. We'll use 192.168. And we'll say .2.0/32. So we'll use, oh, well, you know what, let's not do that. Let's do, I mean, it's a perfectly valid one to use, but I guess I'd rather just use .0.2. It doesn't matter, like, because it's a /32, but I'd rather use this. Okay, so that's the one I'm going to use for that. Next step is going to be, of course, all the protocols needed for the core-facing interface. We're also going to need a LSP, and it's going to be .2.3.4.5 to .5. Okay, and then we are going to need, yep, I've got a loopback address configured. Yep, and we'll need to use, yep, so this is going to be required as well. We won't need that reference bandwidth statement. We can just use the default reference bandwidth to make cost calculations. Okay, so, yep, and we're going to need to configure the VRF, so let's do that. And I'll use a different route distinguisher for the autonomous systems. I use 1, 2, and 3, so this is going to be autonomous system 2, and the route distinguisher, so I'll use the loopback address. There we go. And then I'll, yep, do a import, export policy. Well, let's wait on that for now. Yeah, so I think this might be enough for now. We've got our core-facing interface all set up with MPLS, RSVP, we're using ospf. Then I've got my MPLS LSP ready to go, and I've got a custom routing instance. Now I don't have a route target because I don't have these export policies. So yeah, you know what? I think I am going to do the basics on those. Okay, so it's, oh, I forgot the one more statement here. Okay, that looks good. I'll be able to fast track the configuration for router E then. Okay, so let's take a look. This is dot 1, 2, 3, so it's going to be dot 3, dot 2. Okay. So it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and then dot 2. All right, and then what else? Oh, I gotta see. Yep, okay, 0, 0 is still the same one. Yep, it's gonna be. Oops, this is gonna be a little bit different. Dot 5. Okay, but that should be it. Okay, everything is good to go on router E. So the next step, oops, oh, I don't know how, oh, I see. Okay, yeah, so this has got to be named to router B. Okay, but that looks good to go. I might need to make a similar change on the other side. Yeah, so it's got to be changed to router E. Oh, sorry. That must have been I just kind of stared out and did the a long stare for a while there. But I'm good to go. So let's go ahead and oh yeah. So now that it's renamed, it's time to configure the PE routers. Okay, and these are going to have a lot of config that's no longer necessary because they were serving as inter-provider routers before, but now we don't have an inter-provider topology, we just have one L3 VPN. Okay, so now this is going to hook up to router B. Yep, on G000. So it's going to be .2. All right. Okay. There we go. And now we've got to configure the other side, which is going to be .2.1 on G001. Perfect. So, and then of course, well, we won't necessarily need a loopback. Yeah, I don't think we're going to need a loopback, so I'll leave that out. Are definitely going to need ospf, so I'll add that. We're going to need it on both sides. There you go. Likewise for RSVP and MPLS. Okay, so I think that is good to go. I'm gonna commit and quit. Okay, so I did a commit and quit. So let's take a look at what made it on there. Okay, everything looks pretty good. Use this as a template for the next router. This is going to be router D. Oops, and there is a loud noise out there, so I'm going to put these on. Okay, and yep, the last one was .2.1, so this is going to be, I believe, .2.2. Let's double check. Yep. And then .3.1, perfect. Yeah, so really nice and easy for the PE routers. Oh my god. Okay, so everything is good to go. Let's make sure that the routes have been learned on router B. Okay, so we've got, oops, so it looks like we've only got one, let's see here. So on router B, we're going to need to be learning 2 routes here. It looks like we've only got one unicat, or one, okay, now we've populated. We learned both link routes, and then we learned the loopback route. So let's see if the LSP is up. Okay, and we've got a ingress and an egress LSP now. So yeah, so let's experiment with different kinds of PE-CE connections and see if we can get some routes exchanging so we can ping end to end using different kinds of connections. Okay, so I'm going to start with router A open here, and then next to that router B. Okay, and we'll blank out router A. Okay, and then add back the most basic config, and then yep, so now we'll set the address here. It's going to be 10.0.1, I think. Let's take a look. So we started with .1 here, so we can't use that. We'll just use .0.1. Alright, looks good to me. So we'll need to add that to this side. Okay, so it looks like originally it was connecting to it through a BGP. We're not going to start like that. We're going to start with a different kind of connection. We do have, yeah, so I think we're going to have some more configuration to do on this side. Okay, no, I think we're good to go actually. So I'll do a show MPLS LSP. Yep, the LSP is up. So let's go in the order here. We'll start with RIP. So we're going to do edit protocols RIP. We're going to do set send. What we're going to do set protocols RIP. And can I do like an interface? Oh, I gotta make a group. So group CEPE. Okay, and then we'll do a neighbor. Yep, so neighbor is going to be 10.0.0.2. Oh, we got to do a neighbor. So the neighbor is going to be, it's got to be a name for the neighbor. Okay, so it's not clear to me right away how to enable RIP. So I think I'm going to do, yeah, oh, I see, it's not a valid interface range or alias name. Okay, so yeah, I think I just need to specify the name of the interface I want to use. Okay, hopefully this works. So we do have something showing up in the RIP route. Of course, we don't have the other side configured. Let's try that. So it's basically just the same thing. You just do it under the uh, instance. And I believe it's .1. I don't remember exactly. Yep, it's .1. Okay, so hopefully this is it. So it looks like this has been taken out of that instance. Okay, I think it just doesn't have family. Oh, we don't need it. Family MPLS. Well, that's interesting. Why is it not in that instance? Interface is not in this instance. Oh, I see. I think I need to do this. There we go. Okay, so we've got a neighborship up for RIP. So yeah, I think we're gonna have time to see if we can ping end to end. So to have things move even faster, I'm gonna use static on the other side. So let's take a look. True configuration interfaces. Okay, so I'm gonna configure a loopback. Okay, and it's going to be 0.1. All right. Okay, so hopefully RIP will be advertising that. Oops. So let's go on the other side and do a. Okay, so now we've got that as a direct route. So hopefully on this side it'll show up as a RIP route. Maybe it requires an export policy. Okay, yeah, so it looks like it's now showing up there as a RIP route. Let's take a closer look at the RIP configuration. Let's do a help apropos. Okay, so yep, you can see they've got a export policy here, and oops, unfortunately, so yep, they actually need to put routes into RIP using this export policy. So let's put that online. Let's RIP set export. Oh, let's do edit group. Set export, we'll do send loopback route, top, edit, policy options, policy statements, send loopback route, and we'll do a set from route filter. Okay, so I think that's going to be it. Now hopefully that route will show up here. Might take a little bit for the commit to go through. Aha! So yep, now we've got the RIP route showing up. So, oops, I'm kind of out of time, but maybe I can use what I've got here as a template to move faster. So we've just got the RIP configuration. Here we've just got, yeah, so I might not be able to use a template, but let's configure the other side. And this is definitely worth one more video to go through all of the different ways of configuring these. To ping end-to-end, I think it's pretty good hands-on practice. Okay, so next step is going to be here. Oh, it's going to be, yep, perfect. So, and then we'll go with something other than RIP. Yeah, let's go with static. So I'm going to refresh myself how to do that. So it'll be Okay, this is going to be .4.2 on this side. Yeah, .3.4 is on that side, so .4.2 is going to be on the other side. Let's start off with this side and .1. Okay, and then what else we got here? Okay, yep, I'll add it to the running instance. Okay, I think I'm just going to stop there. When I come back, I'll finish this other side, hopefully go through the rest, and then it'll just be a 2 video topic. So yep, that has finished committing. Yep, the very last thing I'm going to do. Okay, just get a .4 on this. .4.2. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for the video. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.